Hello, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome once again. We're up to lesson number 6, and we're getting to one of the last patterns we're going to learn in this section. So, today we're going to talk about something that's called the place noun, and you've already seen many of these. You will recognize them as we go through. And this is going to be a fairly simple pattern for you, but let's review a little bit what we've already seen, shall we? Okay, so we start with a root. Here's our old favorite, fa'ala, to do. And we know we can make the doer. The doer is the pattern fa'il. The done, or the done to, is the pattern maf'ul. And today we're going to learn a third pattern, and that is the place noun. You know, we've got a doer, we've got a done to, we've got to have some place for this thing to be happening. So let's go back to our root. Here's our root again, fa'ain lam, fa'ala, and we want to make the place noun. Well, this one looks fairly similar to the passive participle. This is yet another instance where we add a ma on the front. You can see why we told you earlier on that meme on the front of a word is usually an add-on. You can see why. This is yet another instance of a pattern that adds it on. So, in this case, we're adding the ma, just like before. We're putting the sukoon here, but instead of a long vowel u, we're just putting another feta. So we get mafal, mafal. Okay, that is the place of doing. Now you've seen some of these before. The root sabaha, for example, means to swim, as in sabaha, uhebba sabaha. Okay, where do we swim? Well, we swim in a mesbah. And notice the rhythm. Mesbah, maktab, maksaf, matam, and so forth. They're going to have that same rhythm. Mesbah, mesbah. Not to be confused with mesbuh. That would be the passive participle. Okay, so in this case, it's a place of swimming. But this, of course, is a pool. All right? Here's another example. Another familiar root to us, lam, ain, ba, la'eba, to play. Okay, where do we play? You can already guess. If we swim in a mesbah, we must play in a, you're right, melab. Melab, melab, mesbah, maktab. Right? This is a place of playing. So this means either a playground or a stadium and so forth, but it's understood to be any place where we play. Right? A field. Okay. What about this one, the verb kana? Well, in the past, we've seen some issues with words that have a long vowel in the root. In this case, there won't be any problem because we're not adding in another long vowel. So, kana is to be, makan, makan is a place of being, or in fact a place. And so that is why this category of word is known in Arabic as ism makan, the noun of place. Okay? So this is pretty straightforward. All you do is plug into this pattern and you get the place where something happens. Now, with some roots, there can be more than one of these words because there are more than one place where the action occurs. For example, one of our favorite roots, of course, kataba, to write. Well, writing takes place in a lot of different locations. So we have here maktab. Maktab means desk or office. No problem. But you know we also have the feminine, maktaba. Now the feminine is used, the only time it's really used in this case is when we need another location. Where we've already used the maktab, we just make a feminine one. There's no logic why library and bookstore is feminine and the maktab is masculine. But because we've already used this one, we need a maktaba. And this is true of quite a few roots. You can look at it, know whether it's masculine or feminine, it's the same pattern. Now, as always, you just love to work backwards from these. Remember, if you know one word from the root, you can reconstruct everything, just like Sherlock Holmes. So, let's suppose we gave you this word. And we are. This word is masna. Masna is a factory or a manufacturing place and artisanal, anything like that. But masna typically is used for factory. So if I wanted to derive the verb to manufacture, again, don't look it up. Okay, so if you go by Mesna Sayarat, Mesna Corvette, the Corvette factory, and you want to describe what's going on there, they are manufacturing Corvette cars. You don't need to look it up. You know the verb is going to be, that's right, Sana'a, Esna, Nesna, Tasna, Sanatu, and so forth. Well, that's great, but we can go even further. So, what about the person or thing or organization that manufactures? Manufacturer, artisan, producer, whatever. I mean, the same idea. Well, if mesna is factory, manufacturer will be sane. Again, right? Why? Because this is a place noun. The manufacturer, we're going to need an active participle. That's right, one who does this action. This is the pattern, fa'il. We just plug in our 3 root letters, sad, noon, ain, sane. And again, this could be masculine or feminine depending on the gender of the actual manufacturer. But we're not done yet. How about the passive participle, manufactured, something that is manufactured? Again, just plug it into the pattern. So we're going to have, exactly, masnu'. Again, we put the ma here, there's a sukoon there, and the long vowel u, like maktub, majzoom, maktu', masbuh, and so forth. Masnu'. And again, as we recommended earlier, the best way to learn these is to learn like one pattern, even for one entire root, and just use that pattern. So, you know, kataba is to write, katib is a writer, maktub is written, maktab is a desk or an office, a place of writing, and so forth. And therefore, you can plug any root into those patterns and get the counterparts, the equivalents. So, let us look at some sentences. And you see, these are all derivations of that verb, sana'a. So what's happening here? How is this being used here? What part of the root is this? What pattern? Yes, of course, it is a verb. Tasna al-Yaban sayarat kathira. Japan does what? Tasna. It manufactures sayarat, cars, a lot. Japan manufactures a lot of cars. Oh, they do. Okay. Here, again, we have another instance of the root sana'a. How is it being used in this case? Well, you can look right at it and tell that is an active participle, a doer. So let's see what we have here. Sherika Mercedes. Sherika Mercedes, the Mercedes company, is Sana'a Sayarat Kabira, manufacturer of cars, large. Okay, Mercedes Corporation is a large manufacturer of cars. Right, that's the active participle. Here again, we have the root sana'a. Okay, so how is it being used here? Even without the vowels on it, you can tell. This is it's a place noun, masna. Right, remember masna was a factory. Hunak, sorry about that. Hunak masna sayarat fi medinati. Hunak masna sayarat fi medinati. There is factory of cars in my city. There's a car factory in my city. So that's the place noun. And we have one last here. Here's another instance of the root sana'a. Masnu'a. Masnu'a. Masnu'a is what pattern? That's right, it's a passive participle. To be manufactured. هذه السيارة مصنوع في اليابان. This car is مصنوع, produced or product of Japan. Okay, so by now you're saying this is great. What is the plural form of this? Well, this is a very regular pattern. You know how oftentimes we tell you that plurals in Arabic, you can't predict them, you just have to guess them. Well, this is one where we actually can predict the pattern. So the typical plural for most cases for a place noun of the pattern maktab is makatib. Notice what we've done. The beginning stays the same. We insert an aleph here and we put a kasra here. Makatib. Maktab, makatib. And it's that simple. Just remember which one is which, and you'll be all set. And you can plug anything into that pattern. So, we gave you the place noun, malab. Malab, stadium. What would be stadiums, or stadia in Latin? Alright. Mala'ib. Mala'ib. Alright, again. This beginning stays the same, but we put an aleph here and a kasra there. Mala'ib. Mala'ib. And again, if you see this, you know it's the plural of malab, it's the plural of stadiums. As long as you know the root, you know what it means. Well, we just played with this one. Masna. Masna has to be. Factories. Factories are going to have to be masana. Same thing. Right, we did the same pattern. Masna, masana, and so forth. Mataf, matahef, matam, mata'am. Now, as you would probably guess, the plural of the feminine forms, like maktaba, we just use the standard feminine plural. Maktaba, maktabat. Okay. Pretty straightforward. There's no real surprises in this case. Now, usage. We always talk about usage here, how it's slightly different. And here again, the usage is, you just have to shift slightly from what you know from English. So, the place noun can be an actual place. Factory, store, restaurant. It can be a permanent structure, or it can be a temporary thing. No problem there. The place noun also can be used to indicate an occurrence or an event. It means the same thing, but it means it's like this is the place where it's happening now. But because of that, it's used as a noun. Let's give an example so you'll understand what I mean. The verb, or the root, dhabaha, means to slaughter. Absolutely, in terms like to slaughter animals, like madhbuh is slaughtered. Okay? No problem. Maybe huge problems if you're a vegetarian, but linguistically no problem. So, as you might imagine, a madhbah is a slaughterhouse. Maybe some place you absolutely detest, but a madhbah is a slaughterhouse where whatever, cows are turned into hamburgers. But the feminine madhbaha, again, because we've used this one, and typically this is the one that's going to be used first, so it'll have the more literal meaning. This is an actual like stockyard, slaughterhouse, Chicago type style, madhbah. The other version of this, madhbaha, means a massacre. So it's the sense of it is a place or an occurrence where slaughter is taking place. But it's used, the word is used exactly the way this word is used in English. So, for example, in this news headline here, talking about Syria, unfortunately, this word is a lot more common than slaughterhouse. They're talking about madhbaha jadida. You can just look at it. They're not talking about they're building a new slaughterhouse in Syria. What they're talking about here is a new massacre. Unfortunately, that is Fairly standard news there. So let's take a look at a page from the dictionary. I know that's exactly what you want to do right now. How does all this work with Hans Wehr? Now I recognize this is a little bit hard to see because Hans likes to write in microscopic, but we blew it up for you. So this is a page right out of your Hans Wehr dictionary. If you looked up under the root, Sin, Mim, Ein, Sama'a. Sama'a is to hear. Okay, now we will see instances of all the patterns that we've seen already. And so he doesn't put the short vowels in. What Hans does is he writes those out in English. I'm not sure why he does that, but he does. But we'll see them all. So, if we start here, Same, Same, Aleph, Kesra. This, of course, is, right, active participle, the doer. So, if this is to hear, hearer, listener is a Same. Okay? Jayed. Masmua. Masmua with the meme here and the long vowel u. Masmua, we recognize that is clearly, right? Exactly. It's the passive participle, heard. So here, as we said before, like audible, perceptible, something that can be heard, it also does mean something that is heard, has been heard. And lastly, mesma. I realize that is very hard to read, but that's what it says. You can tell in the English easier. Mesma, mesma. This is a place noun, but again, here was a place of hearing, right? Earshot, hearing distance, within hearing range of that. So here we have all of these used in one typical root, sama'a. Okay. Now you may say this a little bit. You know, maybe these patterns are a little bit hard to remember. How much harder is it to remember earshot, audible, hearer? These words look nothing alike. They're not from the same root at all in English. But you will get more familiar with this, and as it's going to turn out, you really wouldn't need to look up any of these words. As long as you know sama'a is to hear, well, then what is a same? Somebody who hears. All right, well, thank you very much for your kind and attention, and on behalf of myself and my good friend Forrest the Doberman, we want to wish you all the best in your continued study of Arabic. Ma salama.